The sanctuary of our teacher, the Ancient One.
The Ancient One? What's his real name? Right. Forget everything I think I know. Sorry.
This notion that it's repeated a lot, especially in Buddhism, where in order for us to learn, we need to have an empty cup. Because when our cup is full and we think we know everything, it's like, oh, of course I know what's going to happen, and like this is how the universe works, and blah blah blah. Then there's not enough space for us to learn. And they mentioned this in the movie, and how the cup of Doctor Strange was full, so his cup had to be emptied for him to have access to this higher understanding.
It's like forget everything you know, everything you think you know.
Yeah.
The mind of the beginner, you know.
Exactly, the beginner's mind.
Yeah.
Forget everything you need to know. Not everything makes sense. Not everything has to.
Yeah.
It's like, there's so many things that we can't really explain.
No.
Yeah. Which I think it relates to what we were talking about the other day, on levels of consciousness, and how people who want to understand reality through the level of the intellect, they can, to a certain extent. People like Newton or Einstein, Freud and Darwin, who wanted to figure out exactly how the mind works, how the universe works, which they did to a certain point, but they couldn't go higher than that because their own mind, which was like they stretched the intellect to the as much as they could, and they could not leap into higher dimensions of love and other experiences because they were stuck in the intellect, which is what the Ancient One was trying to tell Doctor Strange, which we think she was successful at, right?
And it's something, again, we see so much in today, being stuck in your intellect, only understanding from a concept way, right? Because it's like we've detached magic from science, right? It's been very early on, so people just think facts are facts and that's reality, and we've cut off the magical aspect.
Which is better than superstition, of course. Like in the ancient times, they thought that the rooster, as waking up and doing its little song, then that's what causes the sun to rise up. Now we know it's not true, right? So it's great. Science is much better than superstition, but up to a point. It doesn't allow for higher. It's great for so many things and for so many things, but I think it's good to know at what level it is. Yeah, one other thing that I wanted to talk about that is related to the first locale, which, according to Robert Monroe, is when Doctor Strange has this very psychedelic entheogen experience, and he gets out of his body, and then he is like goes up, so like completely into the astral, and how the Ancient One keeps bringing him back and then again away. And if you'd go to the Monroe Institute, that's pretty much what they do. Because when you're having a conscious dream, they can still communicate with you, and you can communicate with them. So it's just strange, but when you're having an astral experience, either an astral experience or a conscious dream, you can still have some control of your body. And they do that in the movie, which I think was pretty cool, because that's actually how it happens. You can still communicate. And one of the things that is also most common, as we know, in dreams, especially in out of body, in conscious dreams, is that you can fly up. One of the techniques to have a mystical experience inside of a dream is to not just to fly around, but to fly up. So it has happened to me a couple of times when I'm in a conscious dream and I fly up and outside of the earth, and I can just see completely the air, and I can see these amazing colors of galaxies, and the ones like the fake ones we could see that NASA makes, and the real ones, it's just amazing, and I love that it's being depicted here. Also, when he's having that experience, he sees a butterfly and almost touches as a butterfly, which is also another symbol for the soul. As psychology, which is a study of the psyche, but psyche not only means either mind or soul, it also means butterfly. So it's a study of the butterfly, the study of that butterfly symbolizing the soul or this and or the spirit, which are two different things, but symbolizes both. So he goes there and is almost able to touch it, and then he goes a bit deeper into the experience. So I really like that use of symbolism of the butterfly.
Yeah. It's a very nice moment. Like everything just kind of pauses, and then he kind of just gently touches it.
And continuing with the theme of psychedelics, Aldous Huxley, which is the guy who wrote A Brave New World, which, in Spanish has a weird name. I don't know in French, but in Spanish it's a Happy World. That's how it's called, which is not happy at all. I don't know if you've read it. But this book that when Stan Lee, it's in the bus, and he's reading this book of The Doors of Perception of Aldous Huxley. And now we know that Stan Lee is also part of the bigger Marvel universe, and he's one of the, seems to be working for the Watchers, which is also another concept that is very symbolic, but maybe we'll leave it for another video. But anyways, he's reading the book, the book of The Doors of Perception, which is a book where Aldous Huxley talks about psychedelics and his own experiences with mescaline, and what does it meant for him, just like visually and what he felt sensorially, but also what it meant for him in a spiritual level, and also his hypothesis on how hallucinogenics have morphed the history of cultures and their own religion and their beliefs based on taking these entheogens, these hallucinogenic drugs, which I think was a pretty cool nod to the whole mystical aspect of the movie.
When you remember when it all becomes hands and hands and hands and hands and hands, or like eyes and eyes and eyes and eyes, it's very like very accurate representation, you know. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of like it deconstructs reality, right? The structure of reality is kind of just like, that's kind of what psychedelics do to you, right? Kind of your ego goes to like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And also not just and also in like meditation experiences and conscious dreams where we can access that without the need of substance, for sure.
Exactly.
Another little thing is that they use one of the songs from Pink Floyd, one of the first psychedelic songs, which is Interstellar Overdrive, throughout in the movie. So that's what's coming. Going back to the ancient one, another thing that struck me was how it was forbidden knowledge. Anything that had to do with Dormammu and the Dark Dimension, it's like, no, you can't do that. Implying that she doesn't do it herself, right? Which is, unfortunately, is common with several spiritual teachers, where they put, especially with sex, it's like, nope, you gotta be celibate, don't have sex with anyone. And with nothing. It's just you keep your own energy. But then you find out years later they were sleeping with so many of their students and having like illegal sexual relationships with them. And yeah, so I think it was very good example or a symbolism of what happens in reality, where all these gurus saying like, no, don't have sex, will they themselves are having a lot of sex because they haven't been able to heal their own sexual not limitations, but their sexual issues in their psyche. Like hypocrisy. The hypocrisy of several teachers, which happens a lot. Fortunately. I really appreciate one of the teachers, Adyashanti, whom when he was he had his like deepening experiences and non-dual experiences, and he was ready to start teaching. Then he gathered some of his friends and his mom and told them, was like, look, I'm gonna start doing this, people may start to idealize me, so please keep me in check. Keep me in check. So with money, sex, and what was the other one? Money, sex, and fame. So like, please keep me in check with sex, money, and fame. If you see me that I'm going to the dark side, just stop me, because I know this happens. And that's something that is common in the Zen tradition, which they're better at just keeping it straight and don't fool themselves. They're because now they're have enlightenment experiences and now they can do whatever they want. So that was Adyashanti. He lives in the Bay Area. He's an American guy.
It makes you think too of how the ancient one herself will not teach the dark magic or talk about it in a way that it's like she thinks that they will misuse it. Like I forgot his name again.
Adyashanti?
No, the other.
Oh.
her old, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So like him, right? But it's like keeping a hidden truth because you're so afraid that they'll misuse it, which is kind of what spirituality or anything can be about. You gain so much power, then you can use it but it is reality, so you need to teach it. You can't hide it away, right? So she kind of did a mistake, and that's why I find her other disciple, like the black guy. What's his name?
The black guy.
Yeah, the black guy.
Mordo.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I think Mordo would have felt so betrayed, right? Because she hid it, and she hid a part of, tried to make it all pure and everything, and that's kind of hiding. It's a half truth, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a very good point you're raising, Cléa. Because whenever this happens and a spiritual teacher blatantly lies to them,
Mm-hmm.
there was this teacher whom I really liked, and then he was sleeping with a lot of women, and he will tell the boyfriends like, oh, but don't tell him, don't tell your husband or your boyfriend, because they would not understand. They will just keep it between us, because it's like, what? So he was saying this to all these women, and I was like, how can you say
They will
that?
not understand.
Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, whole thing happened in the ashram, and it's like horrible things.
Wow.
But it devastates a lot of people,
Yeah.
right? Because they're saying like, first you have these people on the pedestal, like, oh, this must be so holy, without showing you that they actually have a shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's not that they have a little shadow, like committing all these crimes. And then it can be very devastating for people. I don't know if to the point where, like here, Mordo becomes like a super bad guy at the end and starts like stealing. I think it was a bit over the top, but I think it symbolizes how it can really put us in pain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also to deny our shadow can give more power to it. Like, you know, that guy who was sleeping with all those women probably put himself as being, you know, this perfect person that doesn't have a shadow.
Yeah.
And probably related to himself that way, most likely, which is why his urges were so manifested like that, you know?
Yeah, faking that he was not, you know, how, and then, yeah, like this guilt and struggle, it must be devastating.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, just like Breaking Bad, right? I never saw Breaking Bad. Then there's a story of this guy who started like, oh, I'm just gonna do it for my family.
Exactly.
And by the end of all the seasons, he's completely like a fuck. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I shouldn't say fuck.
Like, okay, you can rephrase that.
And then he's just like this messed up criminal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
What's this, my mantra?
It's the Wi-Fi password.
Shambala. I think. Well, when I was growing up, I was fascinated by Atlantis, and it's another mythical place, right? Like Shambala. So they don't go to Shambala, but Shambala is the Wi-Fi password, right? Like the joke in the movie, and they didn't talk much about it because it doesn't appear there. Actually, Shambala appears more in something more related to Shambala in Iron Fist. But here, instead of making Kamartash this place which was not on Earth, it was actually here. Because in Shambhala, it's this mythical realm, kind of in the astral, in another dimension. But then there's an entry point on Earth. So I thought they were going to touch more upon that, but it wasn't. That like mythical place of Shambhala, where supposedly the king of Shambhala is Maitreya Buddha, which is the next Buddha, according to Tibetan tradition. So it relates to like the next savior or like the second coming of the Christ, which could be symbolic or not symbolic. We'll have to wait and see. And I also wanted to mention some of the little Easter eggs from the movie when Doctor Strange talking is like taking books from the library. Some of them they just don't exist, they were just made up for the movie, but there's two of them that do exist. One of them is Astronomia Nova, which includes the first mention of the planet's elliptical paths and the change of their movement to the movement of free-floating bodies as opposed to objects on rotating spheres. Astronomia Nova, it is recognized as one of the most important works of the scientific revolution because they started to depict the movement of the planets in an elliptical shape. It didn't quite make it an heliocentric system where the sun was in the center, but it started to talk about the planets moving in an elliptical way. And that's one of the books that Doctor Strange is reading for some reason. And the other one is the Key of Solomon, which is a grimoire, it's called, which is incorrectly attributed to King Solomon, and it's just a book about magic, which is from the 14th or 15th century in the Italian Renaissance. And it just represents a typical example of what people thought of magic in the Renaissance. Yeah, so that he was also reading that one. Hello my dear friends, thank you so much for watching this video. We really hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please let us know in the comment section below, and make sure to like this video, share it if you think anyone can benefit from it, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't, so we can keep you updated on more awesome videos on yoga, mindfulness, spirituality, psychology, etc. Thank you so much.